Hello my soccer universe, to review of the last match day of the league phase in the Europa League. I have to say, it started out slow. I actually could follow the action quite nicely, and then in the second half at one point it became very disorientating because goals came almost every half minute, and so it was really hard to keep track of the whole thing. But once the dust settled, I actually realized that all the big names eased on through. And the three big names, I would argue, that did not make it into the seeded spots actually messed up before. It was all about the seeding. I'm talking, of course, Ajax, Roma and Galatasaray. But they at least all end up in the seeded playoff spots. However, the big drama came on the other end of the table and involved both of the other Istanbul teams. Besiktas are out because they really didn't show up at 2020, move on into the next round. Both teams actually started outside of the top 24. Fenerbahce by a hair qualifies because Braga cannot get the second goal against already first place Lazio. They had it in their hands and they couldn't finish the job. So overall, I think it was quite an enjoyable evening, and it's also a good sign that the format actually works. As I said, at times a little bit disorientating. And I was thinking, wouldn't it be better if we had two 18-team leagues? That might be easier to follow, and you can split it up onto 2 days. But hey, just food for thought. Let's jump right into all the games that happened yesterday. It was a duel of the disappointed in Amsterdam. Ajax, after 3 consecutive losses, after starting so well into the Europa League, get the win in the last game of the league phase. It's a 2-1 over Galatasaray. However, had they had a point more, not lose at RFS, they actually might have finished in 8th place. So it is only 12th. Galatasaray also only in 14th after that one. It was actually a weird game because Galatasaray had definitely more of the game. However, after a big chance by Galatasaray, Ajax launched a counter-attack in the 23rd. Akpom takes a shot, it's deflected onto Traoré, empty net, 1-0 Ajax. And then very similar, the second goal came also in the 58th minute after a good chance by Galatasaray. It is then again a counter-attack over Bertrand Traoré that then Fitzjim slots home, late on Osimhen, who actually had quite a few chances, gets one back, but Galatasaray cannot find an equalizer, their first loss of the campaign. Over in Brussels, we saw another regret because only a single point, and Anderlecht would have gotten also into the top 8. However, they lose 3-4 to Hoffenheim in an absolutely crazy game. Anderlecht were the better team in the first half, had a fully deserved lead, hit the post as well, and then it's an own goal in the 41st minute that gets, with the first shot on goal, Hoffenheim the equalizer. However, in the second half, it started out with all Hoffenheim. Bischoff, Mogwan Dusu and Lojek turned the game in Hoffenheim's favor. 4-1, there was even a 5th goal scored, that was just barely offside. But then late on, Goto, who just come on, pulls one back, then Augustinsson gets Anderlecht close to the equalizer. However, the equalizer never came. And in the marquee matchup in Rome, Roma get the 2-0 win over Frankfurt, very deservedly so. I think there was hardly anything coming from Frankfurt. Early on, Dovbyk actually missed a good chance where Angelino actually wanted to take a shot on goal. It goes on to Dovbyk, goes sideways. I think Roma also hit the post, and then Angelino in the 44th gets Roma the go-ahead goal. However, technically it was an own goal by Tuta, but yes, the goal has been given to Angelino. And then Roma see it out, hanging back, hitting on the counter-attack. Frankfurt never really getting into the game. And then Shomurodov scores a rather odd, but in a way funny goal in the 69th minute, 2 minutes after he had come on for Dovbyk. And so Roma get the third win, finish the league phase in 15th, while Frankfurt fall all the way from 2nd to 5th. Second place goes to Athletic Club, the team that will host the final and that really want to push to win this competition. They get a 3-1 home win to Victoria Pilsen, with other results falling their way. They actually managed to claim the second spot. The game was all Athletic for most of the time. They took the lead through a Nico Williams goal assisted by his brother Iñaki. Alvarez in the 64th makes it 2. The Czechs wake up a little bit too late. Havel gets one back, however, then they also have a man sent off. And very late on, Javier Morton with a nice lob over the goalie makes it 3 for Athletic Club. And that result moves Pilsen all the way down to 16th, however seeded in the playoff. Probably the most disappointed team of the entire evening was Braga, who missed out the playoffs by a single goal. They played Lazio, a Lazio team that knew that we have a 3-point and at least a 5-goal cushion over the opposition, so we can save some place because we will end up in first place, and second place is more or less guaranteed already. And Braga took a quick lead through Orta in the 5th minute, however that actually woke up Lazio, who also had their chances. The game ebbed and flowed, however the longer it went on, the more Braga were pushing. They thought they had gotten a second goal, however it was called for offside and they missed chances, and as I said, a single goal more and they would have been in for Lazio, the first loss of the campaign. However, they're still very comfortably in first place. And Dynamo Kiev end the league phase with the first win, a 1-0 over RFS. The winning goal came in the 17th minute through Pichaljonok. Nominally, it was the top match of the evening. FCSB taking on Manchester United, and the Romanians actually had an early chance. They just missed by a little bit. However, the game was largely controlled by United, but it was not clear from where the goals would come. Well, at halftime, Amorim brings on Garnacho and Diallo, and that gave United a little bit more push going forward. And it is then Kobe Mainu who finds Diallo on the other side of the box, and he puts it into the empty net in the 60th minute. And 8 minutes later, Kobe Mainu himself, after Garnacho assist, makes it 2, and then United easily see it out. They move up into 3rd, whereas FCB fall down to 11th spot. The match between Ferencváros and Alkmaar had a clear winner in Ferencváros. However, it came then down to goal difference for the final position of the two teams. For the most time of the game, Ferencváros had a clear lead. They led 3-0 at the half with a wonderful goal by Traoré to make it 2 in there as well. However, then Mainans pulls one back. Varga with a penalty extends it. With that 3-goal cushion, Ferencváros would have been in the seeded spots. However, Alzad also wanted to get back on the action because the more goals they score, they actually might climb up in the standings as well. And this is how it proved. They get 2 in the 90th minute and thereafter. And that means the Ferencváros finish in 17th and AZ in 19th. However, this looked quite differently before the final phase of that game. OL wasted a chance for a slightly better seeding. I mean, they're still in the top 8 in 6th place, playing only 1-1 at home to Ludo Gorets in a game that they largely dominated. Tolisso finally got the breakthrough in the 54th. However, then they for once make a mistake at the back, and Almeida in the 77th gets the equalizer. OL cannot find a winner. Ludo Gorets were already eliminated ahead of that game. In an atrocious game, in an almost empty stadium, so also atrocious atmosphere, Porto beat Maccabi Tel Aviv 1-0. The goal came in the 58th minute through Nico, and they go through to playoff round in 18th spot, so unseeded. Curiously enough, when they took the lead, this actually knocked out Braga, and yes, Braga could have scored another goal to get in, but more or less Porto also eliminated their Portuguese rivals. Bodø went to already eliminated Nice, a Nice team that are the only winless team in the Europa League phase and managed only a 1-1 draw despite controlling the game for most of the time. A win would have given Bodø a top 8 spot, so they finish in 9th. Björk in the 54th minute finally found the breakthrough for Bodø. However, Buonanni gets the equalizer, and that's how the game ended. And with a 3-0 win over last place Karabakh, Olympiacos also secure a passage to the round of 16, finishing the league phase in 7th spot. They largely dominated the game. Yes, early chance for Karabakh, but who find the breakthrough for Olympiacos? Of course, El Kaabi in the 56th and the 60th minute. He scores a brace. He's the top scorer in the Europa League at this moment. And then Biancone in the 89th adds a third. In a very eventful game, Fenerbahce grabbed that single point that just moves them in 24th spot into the playoffs, playing 2-2 at Midtjylland. A Midtjylland team that with a win could have actually moved to the seeded spots in the playoff. They finish in 20th. Midtjylland took the lead through Diao in the 27th minute. However, Dzeko then had his show, assisting first En-Nesyri, goalie way too far out, but a nice finish, and then gets the go-ahead goal in 47th minute himself. A result that saw Midtjylland on the edge, but still relatively safe. And then when Biskov equalizes for Midtjylland, the nerves were high. However, Braga did not get that one goal. Fenerbahce move on. Meanwhile, Rangers secure the round of 16 in 8th spot with a 2-1 win over Union Saint-Gilloise. Rangers largely controlled the game, were, I think, the better team. Raskin, a Belgian, gave the lead to the Rangers in the 21st minute, and both teams had goals disallowed in the first half. Václav Černý, after Dessa's assist in 55th, makes it 2. McAllister, brother of the Liverpool guy, pulls one back in the 83rd minute. However, there's no equalizer. Rangers, as I said, in 8th. Union Saint-Gilloise finish in 21st. And in San Sebastian, Real Sociedad win 2-0 over PAOK. Both teams go on to the next round. Real Sociedad in 13th place, whereas PAOK finish in 22nd place. This was the Oskarsson show. Yes, PAOK had maybe the early chances, but then it was all Real Sociedad who put on the pressure. Oskarsson, after Geraldo Becker cross, heads it into for the go-ahead goal. Then he scored almost a cheeky goal, but the ball had already crossed the goal line. That was just before the half. But then Elustondo with a nice cross in, and Oskarsson again heads it, and then he puts a header also on the crossbar, all from very, very short range. PAOK more or less outclassed in this one, but both teams move on. Both Slavia and Malmö may have been already eliminated, however they produced what I would argue the most entertaining match of the entire evening. That this was only 0-0 at the half really was not characteristic of that game. Botheim saw a penalty saved already in the 16th minute. Malmö also had a double doink. However, Slavia also had quite some chances, hitting the woodwork as well in the process. The game then really kicked into the next gear when Jorge gives Slavia the lead right after the half time. Then in the 69th, Ali gets an equalizer 2 minutes later. Bad playing out mistake by Slavia, and Bolin pounces in the 71st minute to go at the go-ahead goal. But then a few minutes later, Schranz equalizes. The game goes back and forth. It ends in a 2-2 draw. I think reflective of the game. Spurs, meanwhile, get a 3-0 home win, a much needed win for them over Elfsborg, eliminating the Swedes in the process, who were defending valiantly for most of the time. However, the big story of that game is that not the stars were scoring for Spurs, but the substitutes. Scarlett, who had come on for an injured Dragocin, gets the go-ahead goal finally in the 70th minute, and then he assists also Ajay in the 84th, and very late on, Moore, another substitute and youth player, scores the third. That's their green shoots at Spurs. However, I also have to say the opposition definitely was not Premier League caliber. Spurs in 4th place. And then we ended with a true knockout game in Enschede. Both teams started the day outside of the qualified spot. Both teams needed the win. A draw would not have been enough. What I then don't understand is how tamely Besiktas played the entire game. If there were chances, they fell to Twente. Van Wolfswinkel, for instance, missing a goal from a very short distance because he heads the ball with his face instead of the forehead. But while they were not creating many chances, they did create the only chances of the game. I think they hit even the woodwork, and then Roth in the 76th minute gets the winning goal, and that's his Twente go on to the playoff round in 23rd place. Besiktas, the only Turkish team that was eliminated. So, let's look at the final standings again. Top seeds are Lazio and Athletic Club, both finishing on 19 points. Lazio already knew that the Athletic Club claimed that one. United and Spurs in 3rd and 4th, meaning they cannot meet each other before the final, which might actually bode well for the Premier League. Frankfurt, Lyon, and then Olympiacos and the Rangers round out the top 8. The seeded teams in the playoff are Bodø and Anderlecht, who both could have made top 8 if they would have gotten wins. Then we have FCSB and Ajax. We have Real Sociedad, Galatasaray, and Roma and Victoria Pilsen. In the unseeded places, we have Ferencváros and Porto, AZ and Midtjylland, Union Saint-Gilloise and PAOK, and of course Twente and Fenerbahce. All the other teams out. I just want to mention again, Braga missed by a goal, Elfsborg with a draw at Spurs could have made it also into the top 24, and Hoffenheim, load of things would have had fallen their way, so it was just a prestige success in the end. Also notable, United are the only team finishing the league phase unbeaten. Nice are the only team that didn't get a single win in the entire league phase. However, they do not finish last. That's Karabakh. Well, and that leads us straight to the playoff draw. Let's look at the pairings that we already got. We have Twente have to go to Bodø Glimt, very interesting one. Then Anderlecht against Fenerbahce, that could be a tight one. You know, Fenerbahce just sneaking in. Anderlecht have been doing well, however, you never would put it past Mourinho to do a good job. Ajax have to play Union Saint-Gilloise, that's a really interesting one. I mean, I was really hoping that PAOK will play FCSB, although PAOK have lost the league match against that opponent, but that was all the way back in early October. Galatasaray have to go to AZ, so another Turkish-Dutch duel. We had quite a few of these already on the past match day, whereas Real Sociedad have to play against Midtjylland, two kind of hipsters teams if you would like. And then with Victoria Pilsen against Ferencváros, an old Habsburg monarchy duel if you would like. And then the big one, Roma have to face Porto. I think neither of these teams will be really happy that it happened this way. Also interesting to watch this as an entire bracket, because we know already that, if you look here at the bracket, that every team from the left cannot face the team on the right until the final. And yes, the top seeds still have to be allocated. So should Roma beat Porto, they still could play Lazio. Not a good draw. Whereas Lazio Athletic Club will hope that they will play the winner of Pilsen against Ferencváros. If we go all the way on the bottom, I think the English teams will have decent opponents. I mean, Galatasaray has already beaten Spurs, so they would like their chances. However, you know, it's also makeable. They definitely would be considered favorites. I like the orange band there, especially if you consider Union Saint-Gilloise, Frankfurt, Ajax, potentially, or Lyon in there. That's definitely something iffy. We all know PAOK FCSB again. That would be the easier side of the draw. And then, like in the Champions League, the yellow one is very open, I would argue. I also find it kind of neat that the top duel Porto-Roma is on the right side, whereas the other potentially top duels on the left side, Union Saint-Gilloise and AZ against Galatasaray, so kind of a little bit more balance in there as well. And now, after all these draws, who are the favorites? Well, it is very tight. We have 4 teams with roughly 12% chance of winning. However, the 2 English teams that are rising on top, Spurs and United, we saw in the draw they cannot face each other and they would consider themselves the strongest in competition. Lazio and Athletic Club, of course, also very much in there. And then already in some distance, I would say Frankfurt, Lyon, Olympiacos and Roma potentially can get in the action as well, although Roma's chances took definitely a dip after they are now facing Porto. So well, this concludes now my video on reviewing yesterday's action in the Europa League, as well as the full draw and all its implications. Please drop a line below and let me know what you thought about everything. Who do you think will win the Europa League? Will it be an English final potentially, or will Athletic Club play at home? We could also get a Roman final, although it's more likely that we get a Roman duel in the round of 16. Although Roma against Porto, that's not a foregone conclusion, I would argue. In any case, give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video, subscribe to my channel if you want to see more videos like these. I will talk to you soon about more things in my soccer universe. Bye! Hey there, I really hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, here are some videos and playlists that you may enjoy too. Also, please consider subscribing to my channel and hit the little bell icon so you get notified whenever something happens in my soccer universe. And with that, have a wonderful day. Bye!